All right, it is Cup of Linux Live. And as I've said on my show on YouTube, we have discussions every night here on our Mumble server, and it seems like we've been getting pretty busy lately. But hey, there's been some big news here in the Cup of Linux community. We've decided that it's time for us to roll out another mCOLe release. Before we talk about that, there's been an issue with a lot of you guys out there in the community who really, really want to run Manjaro Linux. Your computers exceed the minimum system requirements, but because you have either legacy EFI or BIOS, you are unable to boot the current Manjaro live images. Now, it's my understanding, they had in the best intentions, because it looks like on their wiki, in an article dated January, it looks like the article was updated. They had some instructions on making a hybrid ISO for people to boot those images. But I tried it and I couldn't get those things to work. So at any rate, what I decided to do was I've always had a cordial past with Phil M. I've always held him in a high regard, and sometimes he'd email me when he needed a video, and maybe I'd email him about something. I know we've lost touch for a few years there, but I opened a dialogue with him, asking him if he could help me to be able to make a version of Manjaro that would address this very problem by putting together syslinux. Okay. And the first thing we tried to do was with Ben. Ben.
Yeah.
All right.
We tried using Manjaro ISO, which didn't let us point to syslinux, and then we tried
Manjaro Tools first, and actually while we were doing Manjaro Tools and I was doing the research, I asked you to do an experiment with ArchISO. Tell me about how that went.
ArchISO at first, we had a couple of issues. We couldn't get Calamari to work because it wouldn't find the VM Linux utility, which is technically the kernel. And then we tried using a command line installer, and that wouldn't work either because we couldn't generate the initramfs, the mqinit cpio command, which a lot of you Arch and Manjaro users are used to. And then we fought with that for a long time. And then we tried Manjaro ISO, which still gave us a heck of a lot of problems. So, yeah, that's basically where we just fought. Go ahead.
Even able to get a single bootable ISO off of Manjaro ISO, just out of curiosity. I was able to build it and get it installed, but it had been so long. Were you able to do anything with that or no?
No, I had a boot error off of syslinux on that. And unfortunately, that's where we fell back to using ArchISO and rebranding that. And yeah.
And so basically, I think it took us like, 2 days. And we eventually, I actually went through, I read all of the different errors that it was spitting out, and I worked on each little error one by one. Now, of course, this is coming from an artist's point of view here. I'm really not a programmer, guys. I have a little bit of, computer talent, but not a whole lot. I'm not a programmer. I don't think like a programmer. I think like a video producer, huh? At any rate, I worked my way through this, and I did some research. I looked into there's Arch Linux had some GitHub pages. for the Arch ISO. And then Arco Linux had a number of interesting articles that I found very helpful. And it dawned on me that, Manjaro ISO was a fork of Arch ISO, and I imagine that the Manjaro tools is the evolution of that. So these are all scripts that are used to read pacman.conf and build the ISO. So it was just a matter of working through all of this and coming up with a desktop. Now, Matthew, Manjaro was your favorite distribution until the new ISO standard where they were using Grub2 images. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was using Manjaro for a long time. I was distro hopping for a while, and out of the distributions that stayed on my computer, Manjaro lasted the longest. But about 8 versions ago, they changed over to that they were using GFX boot before, which is an OpenSUSE creation, and they were wanting some different branding or something, or some more options in the bootloader. So they came out with this Grub2, a very customized, heavily customized Grub2 with some custom profiles and some options for booting non-free drivers and so forth. But the problem is those configurations just didn't work with the hardware that I have. And after reporting the problem to the community, it turns out that I wasn't the only one. So that's that's when I basically started voicing my concerns in here, and we decided to do something about it. So
now, something of interest. You all know for the longest time I've been the biggest YouTube fanboy for Manjaro, the Manjaro poster boy to a degree. Well, not really, but at any rate, the computer, my old computer before I got this ThinkPad, I bought that machine brand new, explicitly with the intent of running Manjaro on it. I bought that machine 7 years ago, okay? And it ran, I think, only one copy of, there was one time it broke and I had to reinstall Manjaro. So, I mean, all that time, I had a real stable track record. Well, there came a time where that breakage occurred, and it was time for me to, and it was time for me to just clean the system out anyway. So I went to install Manjaro, and I could not get the CD to boot. And it took me a day and a half of finagling to force Manjaro onto that machine using a parted magic disk of all things. I burned the ISO to a USB stick, and then using parted magic, I removed the EFI partition off of the USB stick, and then I was able to boot the image and install Manjaro on that machine. Now, I suggested that to you, Matthew, though, and you weren't able to get that to work, were you?
That was effective on my laptop. I had the booting problems on both the desktop and the laptop. On the desktop, it did not work because for whatever reason, with my main desktop, the Grub wouldn't even initialize. I couldn't even get to the point where I could even choose a boot option when that live image was installed. But in the case of the laptop, it would boot up to a Grub rescue prompt. So doing the procedure that you just mentioned by removing that EFI partition off the image did get the laptop to work, but I never did find a solution for the desktop.
Now, did you get the EFI error that was common at the time for that? An EFI machine or something to the effect of that?
No, I don't have the EFI on any of my current hardware. So for me, it just went to a Grub rescue prompt. I didn't get any error messages.
Now, Ben even indicated that he has 1 or 2 machines that he's not able to boot Manjaro on as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have a Samsung that has problems booting it because it's a non-EFI laptop. And then even my Lenovo, which is a dual BIOS laptop, it has EFI and Legacy. It had a couple of problems booting the Manjaro stock ISO as well. So it was kind of helpful that you helped push out this new ISO. So because now it boots it just fine with this remix. So yeah.
And then hence the need to, I know we were running around in circles with I know we were running around in circles one day with Manjaro tools, and all of a sudden I think you had a hangover, and I says, I want you to try and build Manjaro with Arch ISO. I want you to take your take the Pac-Man comp. I have my Manjaro repo on cupoflinux.com. Plug the mCOLe 64 repo into your Pac-Man conf, and I want you to try and install my packages onto the system. And I want you to, and how many attempts did it take you before we were able to get a booting image? Because the thing is, guys, I never built Arch ISO, so I had Ben doing all of these experiments for me while I was assembling the GUI. And as you guys now, all of the people that are in the listening room can't see this. Nobody can see this because we're not streaming this on YouTube Live. But I've got the desktop right here. So during the time that I was actually building all the GUI elements, you can see we've got a beautiful new welcome screen here. All right, we have an install video right here on the desktop because we're using a CLI installer. We still couldn't get Calamari to work, but we are looking for somebody to join the team who has some experience with Calamari. We'd love to have it, but the thing is, the command line installer has more options anyway, and so I figured I'd put a video on the desktop that basically gives the beginner a walkthrough on installing it, and I just basically demonstrated that it really isn't that hard to install. All you do is you just do each little prompt, it highlights the next thing, you do each little thing. And by the time you're done, you got a complete and installed system, and it worked out beautifully. This, of course, uses the signature Cup of Linux dark themes with the theme terminals and stuff. This has the beautiful and whacked out and wild compiz effects that mCOLe is known for. But this ISO is an Arch Linux / Manjaro hybrid. We forked Arch ISO and incorporated some code from Arco Linux D, and now we have Callisto, is what we call it. We've made Callisto to work with Manjaro, and we're going to be using this now for every Manjaro build that we do in the future. So you can be assured that any Manjaro build that's coming out of the Cup of Linux community is going to run on your legacy hardware. And, I have a great deal of respect for everything that they're doing in the Manjaro community. They've put together a magnificent OS. They're #1 on DistroWatch. They've been holding the #1 slot for how long now, Matthew? About a year?
Yeah, maybe even more than that.
More than that. And the thing is, I remember they used to have a much bigger team than they do now. I think they've only got like 3 core members. So it's not surprising that I didn't hear anything from Phil when I tried to open a dialogue with him. But yet I still wanted to make my contribution to the community. Lord knows I haven't contributed anything to Manjaro in a few years. So I figured it was high time that we did something. And the thing is, here we have this thread, and I will have the link in the description, folks, and on the Cup of Linux forum for any of you who want to read everything. But there's a lot of people that this build is going to benefit. And if there is enough of a demand and enough support for it, I will consider making other builds which have the syslinux loader. All right, at this point, let's talk about the overall user experience. And Matthew, you're the one that beat this up like crazy. So go on, lay out what you got. What's wrong with my distro?
Well, first of all, it actually boots, so we're already ahead. So,
okay.
It given the fact that I really only had 1 or 2 versions to test before this was ready, it didn't have a lot of glitches to it. It didn't have a lot of problems. It was mostly polished in the first iteration. There was a couple of small glitches in the beginning, some configuration things here or there, an update issue. But once those got ironed out, this is a very clean experience. The artwork looks great. The theming is good. And comparing this to Manjaro Main Edition, the resource usage on this is rather low as well. I'm showing only about 400 megabytes of RAM usage on system boot up. It's very snappy. With compiz in here and the configs, it has a lot of bells and whistles if you want those as well. I mean, I really don't have much negative to say about it. I'm finding it difficult to find faults. So, yeah, it's an excellent build from where I'm sitting.
This morning, well, you just gave me tons and tons back to back to back to back. Okay, you can fix this, fix this, fix this, fix this. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm sitting there with the, it's like, well, I am not going it, So what I did was I figured out actually how to fix the desktop without actually having to go into the desktop. All I just did was go into Etsy Scale, open up the config files, and just started editing lines.
Yeah. I imagine that's why you gave it to me, because if anybody around here is capable of breaking a distro, it's probably going to be me. So if it survived...
We had the graphics glitches. We had... what was the other problems you had with this?
Well, the very first thing that I had on the test build was the default wallpaper would reset after a reboot. Was kind of strange. Yeah, it was a little strange, but that's fixed. Another issue I had was with updates. It didn't want to update because there was some files already pre-existing, but that seems to be taken care of. Hidden files and folders are being shown by default when they shouldn't be. Just nothing major in terms of system usability, just minor configuration errors, really. And once they're ironed out, this is smooth sailing. So yeah, I'm very happy because I can actually use Manjaro for the first time in 2.5 years.
A lot of other people are going to be very happy with this, and the thing is, basically, all I did with this particular build was I themed it, and I took Manjaro XFCE minimal. Now I did swap out a few things. I don't like Parole; I prefer MPV, so I put that in there. Since we do Mumble, I included Mumble with this, and I probably should have built this on top of XFCE, though, because it would be a little bit more complete. You mentioned an issue with some fonts missing and that sort of thing. But these are all little tokens that people can add at a later time. I wanted to have a desktop that you can build on top of. Because, I mean, let's face it. You download a Linux distribution nowadays, how much time do you spend uninstalling somebody's software selections so that you can get your own software choices installed on the distribution? How much time do you spend on that, Ben?
Very little. If somebody builds something, I'm going to use it the way the heck they did it.
Okay, well, then you're easy to please.
Yeah,
I guess we're going to have to roll out Turd OS for Ben, huh?
Probably. I know I prefer minimal install. Whenever I'm doing Linux, I prefer a minimal install. If I download a distro and it's loaded up with everything, sometimes I don't even bother on installing it. I just move on to the next one. I like a bare bones vanilla desktop because I don't want all that extra stuff. So I'm happy with having a minimal install because I have my own config files from my Arch Linux days where I can just recall my own package list that I want to install, just run a single command in terminal. They just load right up and I'm good to go. So minimal installs are my preference for sure.
All right. Cool stuff indeed. All right, let's go ahead and bring the listeners in, and let's see if any of our listeners have any questions that they want to address. We've got Cobalt, and we've got one of our resident fanboys here. Sam is with us too. How you doing, Sam?
Great. How about you, Spat?
Tried mCOLe?
What's that?
Tried my
mCOLe?
distro?
Yeah, I've tried mCOLe in the past.
Are you downloading the new version yet?
Yes, actually, just a few minutes ago, I finished downloading the new Lucky 13 ISO.
Awesome, awesome. How about you, Cobalt? Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, now, interesting story. Last night, Cobalt he downloads the test build, and his computer blew up. What happened with that?
Yeah, it was
Matthew was saying, Spatry, it's all your fault. You blew up the kid's computer, and now he's... No, I'm just kidding.
what happened was it was just a coincidence. I don't think it had anything to do with the Manjaro couple Linux distro. But what happened was a sensor on my motherboard gave out, and it was reading incorrectly for the CPU voltage, and then kept giving me an error I couldn't pass every time I rebooted the computer. So I was working on it for hours, finally went to bed, and then woke up, and then Matt sent me a message saying that here's this video in French, and this dude fixed it. So I did that, and it worked, and I've been happy since, and I'm going to test a new mCOLe.
Awesome sauce. Okay. All right. Well, let me give you a basic rundown of what you're getting here, since this is also partially a release announcement video as well. Well, before I give you the rundown, Matthew wanted to chime in. Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, I was going to say I wasn't sure Cobalt spoke French, but sometimes you have to look in the most unexpected places to find solves for certain issues. It's just how it goes.
I've done the same. Yeah, I've gone to Chinese websites, and it's amazing. Google Translate is your friend, folks, so got to use it. All right. At any rate, the typical mCOLe user interface hasn't really changed much. On the upper right, you've got your session menu. You got your clock. You have a volume control, your power preferences, network, clipboard manager, which I usually remove. You've got PAMAC. It looks like I've got 3 updates available on this. And then, of course, you have the Manjaro settings tool. In the center here, this is actually your taskbar. You can change its appearance on this, by the way, and I will have some videos coming up. I am going to have mCOLe Bootcamp coming up. It's going to take you through the entire shebang of this OS. All right. The upper left of the dock here, or the panel, doubles as a dock. Clicking the blue M with the cup icon gives you your menu. You have the drop-down terminal, your file manager, media player, mouse pad, the Manjaro user documentation, and then this little globe will open the web browser, but there's a drop-down arrow next to it that'll take you to some specific places. Now, if you click the globe, it'll open up Firefox. But I programmed this in such a way that if you decide you don't want Firefox and you install Chrome instead, and you set that as the default, these little items, when you hit the drop-down, will launch your default browser session. So you have access to the mCOLe search, the mCOLe forum, the release notes, and of course there's a donate button. The Cup of Linux community runs on your donations. We, and all the money collected goes into an operating fund, which covers all of our server expenses, covers our Mumble servers. and it will also help to finance future development. So your support is greatly appreciated, and if you do find this distribution to be of use to you, please consider supporting us. I will promise you that all the funds we receive will go right back into the community. So that's a good thing, and we always have good things going on in the community. Matter of fact, game night tomorrow night. I'm going to beat Matthew at Super Tux Kart. Join us. I got some games to give away if we have enough people here. All right,
you're going to beat me? I don't think so.
I'm going to beat you. Okay, and I already showed the comp-his effects, some of them anyway. But anyway, I'll cover this in greater detail. When we click the menu here, your basic launches in the software center, all the accessories you need, development tools. You can actually hide this menu, but if you want to design stuff for Qt, they're here. Just a few internet tools: Firefox, Hex Chat, Mumble for voice chat. That's what we're using right now to make this, and then still feed for email. In multimedia, you get MPV, the pulse audio volume control, and then some Qt utilities. All right, in Office, you get a PDF viewer and the Orange suite that comes with XFCE. So you can see this is super minimal. All right, and then of course, all your settings right here with the inclusion of the comp-his. And if you want to run comp-his, just click the comp-his fusion icon. It'll place it right here next to the green M, and you can do the preferences. I am not doing that because I'm displaying this inside a test environment, as you can see on the screen here. And I'm running comp-his on my main mCOLe desktop. So, yeah. All right, and pretty much that's it. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of software loaded on here. So you got a nice base system, not much to uninstall, and it's a beautiful, elegant XFCE desktop that I want you to tear it apart, make it your own. What's the first thing you're going to do, Matthew? You're going to take XFCE off of here and put GNOME Shell on yours, aren't you?
No, I'm probably going to keep XFCE for a while. I like GNOME Shell on my main machine. Right now, I'm just running this on the laptop. I'm going to find the old package list from my Arch days, and I'm going to probably load that in here. And probably just run it as is for a while, just so I can feel it out. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. If XFCE grows tired on me, maybe I'll switch to GNOME, But that's the good thing with distributions like this. You can pretty much pick anything you want to run on it.
Then Twidget Ben, well, he doesn't use Manjaro as a daily driver. What is your daily driver now? Is it Linux from scratch or Gentoo?
Well, LFS I would not recommend myself or anyone. As much of a power user I am, I could never see myself running LFS as a daily driver. So right now it's actually stock Arch.
So you're doing stock Arch. All right, but hey, at least he's dipping his fingers in other things and that sort of thing. How about you, Sam? What are you running?
Sam.
You're not gonna like this, but I'm kinda stuck on Windows 10 right now.
Malware 10? Oh, somebody...
Yes, that's right, Malware 10.
Matthew, hit the ban button on this joker.
I got it.
Oh, God.
Malware 10. Cobalt, what are you running right now? You're running Peppermint right now, aren't you?
Yep, Peppermint. It's my home Linux. I always end up there.
Well, what if you end up liking Manjaro more? Are you gonna use mCOLe?
Yeah, I'm gonna use mCOLe. It's just I like the concept of Manjaro. I've never fully got to use it because of how the updates like end up working. But yeah, I really do like the way it works.
All right, so you know the particulars. We've got a beautiful little OS here. I just uploaded it to SourceForge. So there'll be a link in the description below where you can download and get your copy. Please don't inundate the Manjaro servers with your support questions. If you need support, go on cupoflinux.com. and post your support questions there. If you post your support questions on YouTube, I'm not going to see them, okay? I've got over, how many videos do I have now, Matthew? I've lost count.
I don't know, probably too many.
At least 500.
Oh, way more than that. Are you kidding me? There's no way I can see all of the comments. That is why I put up a forum. And besides, I've got so many word filters on the comments. I think 90% of the comments that people leave are filtered out anyway.
Oh, yeah.
You, beep, 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 beep. And anything that gets that collects in the potty stays in the potty.
This is what Spatry hears from trolls.
Hear anything?
Or
I
that.
don't hear nothing.
Utter silence.
All right, so you guys know the particulars. By the time this video is up on YouTube, there will be a link in the description. And if you want to take part in these fun little live things that we're having, and these are going to be spur-of-the-moment shows that we're going to be doing, you got to be on Cup of Linux. You got to join us on the Cup of Linux Mumble server. Go to cupoflinux.com, click chat button. Gives you all the instructions you need for connecting to us. Of course, in order to participate, you need to be a member in good standing on the Cup of Linux forums. Come on in. It's a wonderful community. Tell them about it, Matthew. How much of it, the only tyrant we have here is Sturdy Helga.
Yeah, and you, but...
I'm a tyrant? No. Me? No. I'm an angel.
Okay, time for a whipping.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun here. You come here in the evenings. It's just like hanging out with your buddies. We're just doing it virtually. It's
we've been having a ton of people here lately, it seems. So that's a cool thing. So yeah, hop on in 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, UTC -5. But you can come in during the day. Sometimes we're here, sometimes we're not. I mean, I've been here all week. Well, when we were working on mCOLe, I was here most of the day, Well, yeah. Apart through code and cussing and saying things I probably shouldn't be saying.
Hey, that's all part of the creative process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
leave it to Spatry to come in and spam his own Mumble server.
absolutely. Well, only I get to do that. But I thank you, all of you, for being here. And there's a few other people that didn't quite make it. There were a few others that we invited, but they had to go. But I want to thank all of you who have downloaded and tried the distro, reported your bugs, and your findings on the forum. I know many of you are going to post more things. We want to make this better for you. I want suggestions on other builds that we can possibly do. If there is enough support, I will consider making other builds with this boot configuration. But guys, this takes a lot of work to build these. This isn't something that gets built in 10 minutes. A lot of time and a lot of research goes into building these. So think about that when you're making your requests. We're all volunteers here. So, all right. Well, thank you all for watching. I don't know what else to say on this. So I guess we're going to just go ahead and wrap this up. Go to SourceForge, get your copy. Provide your feedback so that we can make this better. Give us suggestions on other releases that can be made. Support us if you can. We would appreciate that. And as Ozzy Osbourne ends all of his concerts, thank you. God bless you. I love you all. Peace out.